We want to talk about tipping today, and it's really interesting because I was watching the Jets game about 3 or 4 nights ago with my buddies, whatever the fifth loss in a row was, and don't get me going. And well, I'll tell you, all of Manitoba's in a funk now. Just so you're aware, I know the Canucks are doing a little better, but and
I'm still a Jet fan.
yeah, and one of the guys, yeah, word has it you used to have season tickets, but that's a whole other story.
Yes.
And one of the guys just said, "Hey, what do you guys think about tipping?" And I'm sitting there going, "This is great." He said, "Because that's going to be our next topic." They didn't know that, and so I was just taking all the information. So we're going to talk about that. But the last time I checked in with you, you were going to go on a speed date. Is that correct?
A speed dating event, yeah.
So, give me, how does that work?
Okay, so and I've always wanted to try one of these things. So how it works is they gather, in this case, 12 men and 12 women, age 50 and over. Okay. There was a second group going at the same time from 35 to 50. And so the women stay at their respective tables, numbered tables, and the men move from one woman to another. And you have a 7-minute conversation.
Oh, it's like musical chairs.
Kind of, yes.
Are you allowed to creep into the younger table?
No, I don't think so, because it moves pretty quickly.
I thought they'd have bouncers there. No, you're not allowed to go with the
young. Hey, man, let me see your ID.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Because I'm not passing for 49.
No, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
So there's the same number as men as women.
Yep.
And the men rotate.
Correct. So I had expected it to be quite awful.
Yeah.
I was curious about it, but it was nowhere near as dreadful as I expected. In fact, not dreadful at all, in that I never had the same conversation twice, which I found interesting.
Right.
And everyone was very pleasant. 7-minute conversations with 11 people or 12 people gets tiring.
Was it hard for you to remember all the lies you told?
Well, no, that's the nice thing about 7 minutes, right? Is you can retell the same lies to the next person.
Okay, you don't have to keep because if you talk for an hour, then you might lose track of what you've said.
Yeah. So there's a bunch of women that think I have a black belt in Krav Maga, and then there's also a bunch of women who think I spearheaded post-communist economic reform in the Czech Republic.
Okay, so now, and this goes back to us. I don't know how much of a Seinfeld fan you are. I'm a huge fan, but I believe in Seinfeld it was 85% of the world is undateable.
So basically what you're saying is 95% of the population is undateable?
Undateable! Based just, and I just want to know, based just physically. What was it? Just a real mishmash of looks of men and women? Like, was it all shapes and sizes, or would you put people in a certain percentile? Was it a sweet Jesus? What is going on here?
There would be no way to generalize the group there because they were all shapes and sizes. There was one guy there in pajama pants and no shoes.
Okay. So you noticed a guy.
Well, I noticed a lot of things, but if somebody goes to one of these things in pajama pants and no shoes, I'm that guy that thinks, what the fuck are you thinking?
That's like the people at Walmart, right?
Pardon?
You've seen the website, or at least the people of Walmart. They show people that in Walmart.
Yeah.
That's going to really limit the guy's prospects, don't you think? Or, and hear me out here, maybe expand them depending on what he's looking for.
And I mean, it only takes one. So whenever I hear or see some sort of extreme behavior in the dating arena, I think, okay, well, this must have worked for you at one time before. I have a friend who went on a first date with a guy from online dating, and they met mid-afternoon in a coffee shop, and he gave her a gift. When she opened it, it was a ball gag and not a ball prank. I mean, like a Pulp Fiction ball gag.
I'm gonna have to find that on. I'm gonna have to Google that to insert that picture of that right now while we're talking. You know, there's gonna be a picture over your left shoulder right now of a ball.
Sure.
Okay, just so
Of
you
a
know.
ball gag, yes. So I'm assuming that ploy worked for him at one time,
Right.
and maybe this guy, was looking for a woman who was looking for a project.
Well, and again, let's revert back to you. So now, if we're being honest here, and we're not dating, so you can be honest.
Yes,
Do you lead with convicted felon, or
I never brought that up.
it never comes up?
It's too early in the
I
process.
was going to say that's like three. That's three. What is that? 3-4 dates in?
Maybe the second date, because third date is,
Right. Yeah.
So I wouldn't want to have relations with someone without having divulged my past, in case they said, well, had I known, I wouldn't have had sex with you.
Right.
And I would have said, well, had I known you wouldn't have sex with me because 7 years ago I robbed a bunch of banks, I wouldn't have had sex with you. That's not true. They were good looking at it, had sex regardless, but I would have said that out of spite.
Yeah. Yeah. Screw you, figuratively, of course.
Yeah.
Okay. But so in the end, did anything? So are you then allowed to? Are you then allowed to make your own plans for further rendezvous if that's the case?
That's the idea, is if you connect with someone, you ask for their number, they ask for yours, something like that. I knew immediately as soon as I got there, I'm not making any romantic connections tonight.
You knew that by looking around?
Yes.
Or that was even before you saw anyone, you had said, I'm not.
No, once I looked around, because this, I believe, and call me a cynic, but despite all the crap people purport to want in dating, I'm looking for someone with intelligence and a sense of humor and compassion and empathy, someone who has their shit together. That's all crap. If we don't like how you look, we don't care how you are.
Yeah.
Nobody swipes right on someone they find unattractive, hoping, well, I think that guy looks like he might be empathetic.
I hope he has a heart of
I'll
gold.
give him a shot.
That's right. It looks like deep down he might have a heart of gold. Yeah.
Yeah, which I do. But
Sure. Well,
yeah,
my 20-year-old was just asking me. He works at a co-op, and he said, there's one of the people that he works with. I'm sort of outing him here, but not outing him. But he said one of the people he works with is dating he said a girl that I don't find attractive. Is that wrong? He said I would never. He said I would never want to date anyone that's unattractive. And I go, well, that to you that makes perfect. He said, does it make me a bad person? I go, no, they have to be attractive to you. Otherwise you. I used to work at a golf course with a guy, and his girlfriend had this horrible laugh. Like it was just like the most grating laugh ever. But she was really good looking. So every time he would go over to her place, he'd always he would get drunk before he would go to her place, so that he could get past the laugh, and then continue on with whatever. So, but yes, I agree with you. You need to find someone attractive. So you looked around and said, "There's nothing going on here right now."
Yes, exactly. And I wish I had some sort of fetish where I was wildly attracted to unattractive people, because boy, that dating pool is pretty deep.
People with pajamas and bare feet, say.
That sort of thing, yeah. But unfortunately, that's not a thing to me.
Did you sense that anyone hooked up?
Well, it's very, I didn't get that sense, but that doesn't mean anything, because I was quite focused on my own thing.
Okay.
A couple of women asked for my number, and I wasn't interested. And then I got to the very last person, kind of a nerdy woman who had questions written down and was writing notes.
Sure.
So I thought, well, maybe I should just, I should make an effort with this woman. So I unsolicited, I gave her my number, and then she never called.
So the note taking was a bit of a turn on for you?
Well, I thought you're at least unique.
Okay.
And, former journalism instructor, that sort of thing. I admired her efficiency,
It's tough. I know you're a bit of a grammar Nazi. I'm wondering if boy, I don't think we're ever going to talk about tipping today, but that's okay. Would you notice, like, like I noticed if someone says her and I went to the store, and I went, no, it's she and I, and like, did you notice right away? Did you rule people out right away by their bad grammar?
One woman said, "I seen."
Yeah, oh, I hate that one. Yeah, I know.
Bye. But now you're stuck there for the remainder of the 7 minutes.
First thing out of her mouth is something incorrect, eh?
Yeah. Yeah. Now, like, that's a deal breaker to me. But say somebody doesn't know the difference between less and fewer or much and many, I can let that slide because most people don't. But
Your standards are pretty high. I appreciate that.
yeah.
You understand you could be alone for the rest of your life, don't you?
Well, yes, and I've made that decision very consciously. One, I struggle a bit with the old Groucho Marx. I'm not sure if I want to belong to any club that would have me as a member.
Yeah.
Two, I don't want to waste somebody else's time. So if I know right off the bat that you're not attractive to me, I'm not going to waste your time because I don't want to put somebody in the situation on the third date where they go, "Oh, if you weren't attracted to me, why did we go on 3 dates? I could have been dating somebody else. Why did you waste my time?" So I would rather be alone than settle for someone that I'm just kind of making do. Well, I don't really like her. And, I don't care for her personality. She's not particularly attractive, but it's better than being alone. No, it's not.
Okay.
I like being alone, and it would take a significant attraction to be better than that. So you're right. I'm probably going to be alone for the rest of my life.
And then, of course, was there drinking? Was there alcohol in this? Were you having alcohol during this thing? Because then, if you're like 77 minutes, or no, 12 times 7, 84 minutes, are you, by the last one, if you're drinking, the standards are going to drop for everyone, So, cross your fingers. The last one is kind of, no, now she's not bad, or for her,
well,
he's not bad.
It did take place in a bar, but there wasn't much of a chance to really drink. Like, I got a pint of beer to start, and then you go through a half a dozen people and take a 15-minute break. So I had a buddy that went with me. He was in the 35 to 50 crowd. So we went downstairs and had a shot and got another beer. But then that beer, there's no time in the second half to get up and get a second drink.
Would you have been allowed to give this guy your number?
He was my buddy. He came with me.
Oh, I thought you met him there.
No.
Oh, because I'm just wondering if that's ever happened. Whether you meet a guy and you go, I don't like any of these women, but I wouldn't mind watching Monday Night Football with this guy.
I could see that happening. Sure. That goes back to the chat club idea.
Yeah.
Like, guys our age, you move to a new city, it's tough to make friends, especially, a town like Penticton, where if people have grown up here, they've got their friends. And if people are new to town, you need to find some sort of activity where you will intersect with them.
Yeah.
And I'm not great at that, putting myself out there. I'll just join the curling club. I'm not good at that sort of stuff.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
I need somebody else to say, "Hey, I signed you up for curling. We play on Tuesday nights."
Okay, there you go. All right. So now, show-wise, do we want to keep talking about dating, or do we want to start up talking about tipping?
Well, I don't have a great deal more to say about dating. now that I have addressed what really is one of the biggest lies in the world, that we want, that we put these characteristics ahead of attractiveness. No, we don't. Our top priority is attractiveness.
Yeah.
If you don't check that box, it's like applying for a job, right? You don't get that. If you don't check that box, you're not getting an interview.
Right, yeah, it goes all downhill from that. It's just, yeah. Okay, fair enough. No, I think a long time ago when we were discussing this whole thing, I had a whole bunch of stories about dating, but let's get into tipping because, and I'll start because now you're a waiter at two different places, right? But we've both been in the service industry for a long time. And we both, I think, excuse me, I'll edit that out. At certain points in my life and right now in your life, you rely on tips for a lot of your income. So the other day I was picking up food for our family. It was $100. I go pick it up and the stupid Interact machine has, it starts at 15, I think 15, 18, 20, 25% tip. And then you go to custom, right? So I always have a hard time because I don't really feel that I should tip when I'm picking it up. Like the person, I tipped 10%, $10. That person got $10 for handing me a bag. And that just seems, and that could be my Mennonite cheapness coming out. I just don't understand, but I know you have a point about servers. If it goes on their account, they have to tip out. So if I don't give anything, they might lose a little money. But I just don't understand how you could start at 15%. And then, by the way, they have those adjectives like, great, good, wow, lame. Like now the little machine is judging you, which is shameful. It's kind of
no, the machine, it's not saying you're lame if you tip this. They're saying if the service was lame, tip this amount.
No, well, maybe, but either way. So what do you think? Do you think that
because the tip is a comment on the service, and that's what that comment is about as well. I think we're going to have to do tipping in two parts because we're not going to get to all elements in the 15 minutes or so that we have left in this show.
Right.
Because the issue of tipping, and I'm going to get to your point here, the issue of tipping is growing ever more complicated. As more and more people try to elbow their way onto the tipping bandwagon.
Yeah.
And let's start with picking up food. Well, there's a few factors we should consider whether someone needs to be tipped or not. And it should start with how much time and effort did they put in? I think I told you recently about I was ordering something online to be mailed to me, and I was prompted to tip.
Well, like not food.
No, like a product I was buying, not from Amazon, I forget from whom, but who am I tipping then?
I know, that's pretty weird.
Yeah, like if I knew that was going right into the pocket of Jim and shipping, okay, maybe.
Yeah, it's not.
It is not. No, I think that's probably going in the CEO's pocket. So, and then of course, so we have time and effort to consider, and then we also have to consider, did this cost the server any money?
Right.
So, if you've got all three of those, they put in time, effort, and it cost the money, well, then it behooves the person on the other end to tip them.
Okay, but let me interrupt you there because I don't think it's incumbent upon the consumer to take that, especially the last factor, whether the person's losing money. Like, I don't think it shouldn't be like some kind of an intelligent, stressful thing to go out to eat and tip. Like, I shouldn't have to start thinking, oh, I wonder if my server is going to lose money if I don't tip enough. I just want to go out and eat. Like, well, that shouldn't be on me,
Well, and as I say, it is becoming more complicated, but it's less complicated if every Canadian would accept that in Canadian restaurants, not fast food restaurants,
right,
but in Canadian restaurants, servers pay a mandatory, what's called tip out. It's a mandatory percentage paid to the house
Right. For
on
the
everything people order.
the bus boys, the dishwashers, the whatever, right?
They don't pay, only the servers
Right.
pay.
But it goes to pay them.
Exactly. Exactly. So it goes from that percentage usually runs from about 7% to 8.5%.
Wasn't that much, eh?
Yeah. So you might want to keep that in mind. You know, your 21-year-old server putting themselves through school and you didn't tip and they paid out 8.5% on your bill. So they were out of pocket. That's not cool. However, things like pickups where you go to pick up food, they're not paying tip out on that.
Okay.
And they've made very little effort to pass it across to you.
What?
In the same way, a bartender makes very little effort to hand you a beer, which is why if the beer is $6.75, you might give them $7.
Yeah.
Because there. Same with the coffee barista. Well, they at least made your coffee, maybe, or they poured it out of a jug. So picking up stuff, no. However, when people deliver stuff to you, one, the gas is on them. Two, and I can't stress this part enough, they could be killed delivering your meal.
Sure. Yeah.
So, yes, you don't get the full service experience, but there is time, effort, even an element of danger, and there is some cost to your driver.
I always thought when we were younger, I used to frame houses with some guy. Speaking of dangerous, and the Dickie D guy, you know, the ice cream guy would come right around it. We would be in neighborhoods, and he'd come around, and I always thought he's a 14-year-old guy, and I was just thinking about if you were like if you're a lazy criminal and you wanted to like maybe like knock over a 7-Eleven or you know rob a bank, whatever. Dickie D comes. Here's this 14-year-old kid with a big cash box afloat. And he rings the bell to let you know he's in your neighborhood. I mean,
Yes.
you can sit in the basement, you know, smoke a joint with your buddy and go, hey, it's almost Pavlovian, right? You go, hey, what's that? Oh, let's go knock off the 14-year-old kid. Speaking of dangerous, right? I mean, that would be, you know, so you're saying there's almost like a danger pay.
Yeah, I think there's a risk pay. Yeah. Yeah. What if you stiff the Domino's guy? He's driving from your place. A drunk driver T-bones him and puts him in the hospital for 3 months. And
you could say the same thing that your cook might burn her or his hand on the grill, you know, grilling your steak. There's inherent danger.
except he's already getting tipped.
Okay, I had a guy deliver a meal about 2.5-3 years ago to our place. We're in the middle of nowhere, as you know, so there's only like 4 places we can order from. And he came to the house and he was wearing a MAGA hat.
Oh,
So so we had we talked for about 10 minutes. He was a younger guy, he's like early 20s. And I was just going off on him. And at some point, my family's waiting for the food, and I'm sitting on the front step holding the bags, having this heated conversation with this guy. But at some point, my wife said, "Can you just bring us the food and go back and talk to the guy?" So I brought them their food. I went back outside, and then finally, I just said, "Just so you know," and he was just as MAGA as you'd expect. And so I didn't tip him at all, right? But then I phoned the restaurant, and I phoned the manager, or the owner, it turned out, owner/manager, and I told him, I didn't tip your guy, but I told him why. And I said he was wearing a MAGA hat and he was all just talking about Donald Trump the whole time. And I said, I don't need politics at my door when I want pizza and chicken. And he went, yeah, fair enough. He said, I'll talk. He said, I told him before and I'll tell him not to wear it again. Of course, he delivered about a year later and he was still wearing the MAGA hat. But the point of this story kind of is that in where I live, in very deeply evangelical southeastern Manitoba, my guess would be that he made more money with that hat than it cost him. So I think it was unconscious.
there has to be a reason he's wearing it.
Yeah, especially delivering pizza. Anyway, so I didn't tip him at all, but I did let the owner know why I didn't tip him. So you're okay. So now here's the next question: is who do you tip? Because you were saying you ordered something online and they had a thing for a tip. So my kid works at a gas station. He pumps gas. He maybe makes $5 a week. Every once in a while, if it's like -40, literally. Some older woman will feel sorry for him and give him $5, but we don't tip gas jockeys.
which is wrong.
Sure.
My ex-wife has been tipping gas jockeys, I think since for 30 years.
Yeah.
And I believe that we need to readjust who we tip. And we tend to be defaulting to those who ask for one, like it's on the machine at the coffee shop, right? So we do it. But gas jockeys don't ask, and hey, they could get blown up doing their job.
It's a real danger thing for you.
Well, there's that, but they're also outside in the elements. There's two jobs I think that should be getting tipped more than they are. Gas jockey is a disappearing job, but wherever there are gas jockeys, they should be getting tipped. Certainly, and also chambermaids. You should be leaving a tip for your chambermaid.
I think that's accepted. I think that's generally a rule, isn't it?
Well, I don't know how much people do it. Because I worked in the hotel business, I've always left money for the chambermaid, but I don't know how many people do. And really, when you think of it, she's going to spend 40 minutes cleaning your bathroom, changing your sheets, and you also, maybe you're those people in a hotel room and go, hey, I don't have to clean it up. So there's towels everywhere, and she's getting paid. They of whichever gender, they're getting paid minimum wage for this. So really, you tip the bartender for this, but that woman's on her knees. Geez, I gotta quit that. I'm so sorry, everyone. It's just a habit.
No, I know. I understand what you're saying, and I think that even like my wife, or any woman, self-respecting woman.
And finish my thought there. Sorry, on her knees cleaning the toilet. And now I'm even in bigger trouble if I didn't finish that.
Oh, that's you want to finish that, eh? That's right. But women tip their hairdressers, and of course then they come home and complain that it's not anything what they wanted. So that's even funnier. But that's a different topic for a different show. It's just funny how things have evolved to we just accept that certain things we tip and certain things we don't, and there doesn't seem to be any rhyme or reason. And like you said too, it's the expectation. When you go, I was just down in Mexico last winter in Puerto Vallarta, and people there, lots of local people do everything like. So there's anytime you go to have you been to Mexico? They have what's called an OXXO, which is their version of 7-Eleven, except there's one on every block, and there's always a person a local that opens the door for you, and he or she does not work there. They've just sort of camped out there. That's their job, and they open the door, and then you give them X number of pesos, and it's just an accepted practice. In fact, there's one guy that I didn't know whether to tip him more or not tip him at all. He sat in a chair and he'd attached a string to the doorknob of the OXXO, and then he didn't even get up. So when you came in, he just pulled the string, and I thought, okay, he's really lazy. Do I not tip him at all, or do I give him extra for being pretty ingenious? So
it was pretty enterprising.
So I ended up giving him more.
You had to buy the string.
But even at the grocery stores, you get like some of the bigger ones, you will check out and the person rings you up, but the person bagging your groceries is not an employee. They're just a person off the street that has realized, hey, I can make some money, and so you tip them. So every country has their own kind of rules, right? It's interesting though how we have in North America, I guess, have evolved. You always hear that story about what is it in one of those socialist countries in the Denmark or one of those Scandinavian countries where they always say the McDonald's workers get $35 an hour and full medical benefits. I'm not sure if that's true, but then you don't tip them, right? Because they're making more money than you. See, there's another rule. I generally don't tip someone that makes more money than me.
That would be most waiters in decent restaurants, Rick.
Well, then I'll
most servers.
But speaking of Mexico, my brother last year we went to to a dentist. We got our teeth cleaned at a dentist. My brother cleaned the dent. My brother tipped the dentist, and I had been there before. I got to know her a little bit. My brother didn't know her. He tipped her. It was his first time. We were walking home. I said, "See that building there?" He goes, "Yeah, you know she owns that building, right?" He goes, "What?" "She owns that 6-story building on the beach." He goes, "Oh, I just thought I'd let you know because you tipped her like $15. She's got 6 times the money that you have." And he goes, "Oh, I didn't know that." I said, "Yeah, whatever. I mean, you tip a dentist? That seems a little."
No, I don't. I don't think so. I mean, you don't tip a lawyer or a doctor either.
A doctor, yeah, really.
You know, isn't that a bit insulting? Like, you have this profession that pays you 6 figures, and imagine the other way, that the dentist says, "Hey, how about a little something for the effort here?" That's why we're tipping these other people, because they are paid so poorly. And something I'd like to address here just before, and I do think we might need to revisit this.
Yeah, we can do a part 2. That's no problem.
Yeah. Is this nonsensical idea people have when they go, "Why don't the restaurants just pay their servers a living wage so we don't have to tip?" You moron. Where do you think that money's going to come from? Do you think the restaurants are making so much money that they could afford to double the wage of the servers? Because nobody would be a server for minimum wage. No way. So do you think they could just double the money for the servers and still be making a reasonable profit? I've got news for you. The margins in restaurants are not that good.
Okay, but hang
on, let me finish my thought. So what that means is, one way or another, you're paying for it. You want us to pay the server $35 an hour so you don't have to tip? Okay, we will. By the way, your meal is twice as much.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. What did you think was going to happen? Where did you think that money was going to come from? If you're not giving it to us as a tip, you're giving it to us as the cost.
And I've noticed, by the way, you've really got you're animated. You got closer to your computer for this.
I'm leaning forward now.
You're leaning into this one. Okay.
Yeah.
Devil's advocate, though. You look at people that own restaurants, especially chain restaurants. You know, someone ordered. Well, McDonald's is a bad example because there's no tipping at McDonald's. But like I don't know.
Earl's.
Great example. So whoever owns Earl's, we think of them, the owners living in their ivory towers and making lots of money. So we think, well, hold it, they're making a shit ton of money. So they could afford to pay their servers more and not make as big a shit ton of money. Do you know what I mean? Like,
absolutely. Starbucks would be an example.
Sure.
Billions in profits, yet everybody at Starbucks works for minimum wage and whatever tips they can scrape together every day.
Right.
Starbucks could, like, I think last year they could have basically added about 10 grand to the salary of every full-time Starbucks employee and still had profits in the billions.
Right. Okay, so you see my point, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm talking about primarily individually, privately owned restaurants. They're counting every nickel.
Absolutely.
And just like when the minimum wage goes up and it has to be reflected in the prices, if you want to eliminate tipping, well, then that money that they've got to pay to keep kitchen staff, bus people, hosts, all that sort of stuff, it's got to come from somewhere. And it's not coming from the owner's pocket because they don't have the money.
Right. And generally, I think you're correct. Okay, we're running out of time, so we want to maybe do a part 2 on this.
I think so, because I might have a few more comments regarding tipping, including what do you do when you're at a restaurant and you say, actually, you know what? We're going to go to the buffet. We're not going to order off the menu. We'll go to the buffet.
Hold that
what
thought.
Do you do then?
Okay, hold that thought. And here's what I'll say is, for anyone that wants to comment, because I posted these links on Facebook, Twitter. I don't know if you have yet for our shows, but because
not yet.
Right. So, but people have already been commenting on the first one, at least on my Facebook page. So people can add their 2 cents worth. So when we do Plan B, we'll have a little feedback already. So
nice.
We'll find out whether we're like totally off or whether
we're not.
Well, we might be.
We'll never admit that.
You might not in your little bubble. All right, so you're off to work today. We have a minute and a half. You're off to work.
I am off to work today, in my gratuity earning position. Yes.
I wonder if someone's going to see this podcast and then see you and then go, oh shit, I better tip that guy, or he's going to really lean in. He's going to get aggressive. I've seen him. He's going to be right in my grill if I don't tip him, right?
Yes, and thankfully I've never been that person to kind of hint around or anything, because I find that awkward. So yeah, I'm pretty sly about it, because that's the fastest way to get fired. And I've always thought that was unfortunate. You get some jerk customers who stiff you, then the foolish server says something like, oh, sir, was there something wrong with the service? No, everything was good. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I just asked because you didn't include a gratuity. Then that person goes on Yelp and goes, the waiter insisted on a gratuity.
Yeah.
And they're fired.
All right. We'll end it on that.
Okay.
We'll talk to you soon.
Next week, part 2 of tipping, the buffet dilemma.
All right. So you can hear me okay? Video is good. I could hear you coughing at the beginning, but now I can't hear you anymore. Did you press a mute button or something? I heard you go.
No.
Oh, there, now I can hear you again. Okay. See, look, and I have my I have my different camera. Do you notice the better quality, or you still don't notice the quality? Oh, it doesn't matter. I do. It's all that matters. It's better for me.
Yes. Does it look like I'm looking at you?
About. Yeah.
Because the camera is just a little above your head where I'm looking. But I am looking at your face right now. But can you tell the difference? Okay, right now I'm looking at the camera. Now I'm looking at your face.
Oh, but you're so far off. See, I'm only about like 2 feet from my camera, right? So
now, should I be closer?
Oh no, you're fine. Well, it doesn't matter. You do whatever you're comfortable with. I mean, I wouldn't want you in another room, but if you're fine, just calmly sitting there having your go mug, that's all good. I think it's preference. So okay, podcast. Oh, how did you like the theme song?
I loved the theme song. It was bluesy and a little funky, and I could see it being part of the soundtrack if Quentin Tarantino. Pardon?
Of your life?
No, but if Quentin Tarantino was to do a Western,
yeah,
I could see it being part of that.